Australia decided to stop eventually internet or use control if there is danger of terrorism. For instance, if there are bombs and then people start to spread photographs of victims, they would intervene and stop the flow of information. That has been done also in Sri Lanka, for instance. Okay, so and then of course we know Indonesia recently there is a conflict in Papua, and again they have stopped the information flow again for fear of further conflict. This is the official excuse. And I said this event has been inspired by one of the speakers, Janjira, because I have read her article in the Bangkok Post, which was talking about exactly the topic of today, that fake news may be used as an excuse also to control more the internet. At least this is what I got out of the article, my own interpretation. And from that, the idea came to do this panel, and then I looked for people that could talk for their own perspective. I should introduce myself. I am Lia Sciartino. I am the founder and director of Junction. And Junction is what you see here. It's a public venue devoted to Southeast Asia. All kind of aspects and news about Southeast Asia. So without further talk, I will immediately go to the first speaker, which indeed will be Ajahn Janjira. And today she will talk about the Philippines, actually. Not really about Thailand, but that is good because we also have a speaker who will talk about Thailand, and of course in between is Syafiq Ali, who will talk about the situation in Indonesia, and he's the director of, I think, the largest website on Islam, so Islam-inspired website, N2 Online, which is associated with one of the major mass organization, Islamic mass organization, Nahdlatul Ulama in Indonesia. And he will talk more about the challenge to confront radical fundamentalist mosques. So very different situation, but they have a common theme. So please.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much to Junction for the invitation. And thank you, everyone, for getting through the Friday traffic to come here. I know it's heavy traffic. I came all the way from Rangsit campus of Thammasat University. Today, what I want to do is to put the term fake news in socio-political context. And because, I mean, these days, fake news has become a kind of buzzword, and we don't actually know what it means. In certain societies, it means certain things, and in another society, it means completely differently. So I want to do that, but I have to, give you a disclaimer that, well, first of all, there are a lot of studies on technological aspect of fake news, a lot of technical underpinnings of the studies. I'm not going to go through that. I'm not an expert on that part. I'm not a media expert. And I know that there are also a lot of people who have talked about the use of robots to produce fake news, and the use of all of these technical tools to kind of spread fake news. So I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about is what is the implication when we talk about fake news in the context of a political conflict, right? Where we have conflict parties and both sides kind of accuse the other side of spreading fake news or spreading something that is false in the eyes of the other side. So that's kind of my point. So let me start here. This is Hannah Arendt. She's a German philosopher who has migrated to the US. She went through Nazi regime and all of that. So one of her books is is called Truth and Politics. It's very hard to digest. Her writing is very heavy, but I sort of captured this paragraph of hers, if you like, because what's interesting is that she kind of blurs the line between lies, truth, and opinion. And what's more interesting for me is that her point is when someone who doesn't have power and say something that is of one opinion, sometimes if it's false, then that would be defined as a lie, right? But if someone is in the position of power and that person says something of that person's opinion, then it can be considered as the truth. So it's a bit hard to digest at the moment, but my point is that when we talk about fake news, the importance is not so much on the fakeness, it's about news. We often think of news, and we have a lot of journalists in this room, right? And we often think of news as the truth. And that's why we have campaigns of journalists around the world, criticizing fake news producers as attackers of the truth, right? You hear this a lot in Europe, in the US, that, fake news producers are the enemy of the truth, so on and so forth. But I think that's because we often think of news as a source of factual truth, and I borrow Hannah Arendt's term. Factual truth is truth that is based on a set of facts, and while we try to differentiate between facts and truth, for a lot of people, for example, the number of dead people, the number of people being killed during the 2010 protests in the heart of Bangkok by the UDD is around 96 persons, if I'm not mistaken, right? So for a lot of people, this number is the fact, right? So news produce facts in this sense, and we take facts as truth sometimes. And then when we say something that is fake, what we implied is that our truth is actually truer than someone who says something fake. For example, if you wear a fake watch, right? You are implying that there's a truer, a more authentic version of that brand name watch. And therefore, that's the implication. And I would argue that when someone says something like that you are wearing a fake watch, or you say something fake, it means that that person has the power of claiming that that person is telling the truth. So my point is to associate telling what is true and what is not with the position of power. And we will come back to this when we talk about Thailand briefly, that when we put fake news in the context of Thailand, we have to take power into consideration, because those who define what is fake is usually in the position of power, right? And those who kind of challenge this set of truth produced by people in power is usually accused of being producers of fake news. So that's Thailand. And we will also go through the Philippines briefly, which is a completely different situation. I did a little bit of research about the Philippines. I did some work there, but completely about other topics. So my knowledge about the Philippines is quite limited compared to my knowledge about Thailand and Serbia, of all places. But allow me to give you that example, and let us see, what I mean by the relationship between fakeness and power. Now, lastly, what I want to point out is how fake news discourse actually is not really. We tend to consider that as the cause of a political crisis, that we're facing now, my argument is that it's not the cause, it's just a symptom, right? And when you kind of obsessed with that, that blinds you from seeing what is behind that, what underpins that, why certain sectors of society have to produce or are convinced by fake news. Now, just quickly, I want to give you a Western context of fake news. I will not go through this in detail, but my point is that when the contemporary notion of fake news, I think, is influenced by what's going on in Western politics, especially with the emergence of right-wing populists in Europe and in the US. And I think you have to put that into context where, theoretically speaking, I will not, bore you so much with this political side stuff, but theoretically speaking, I think the turning point of political history in modern times is the end of the Cold War, where the conflict between two ideological parties ended, right? But what you have is the establishment of a political order that we call liberal political order, right? And I know that Junction has promoted human rights, and a lot of us has advocated human rights, but that's a part of this political order, right? Democracy and its marriage with other things, right? But then what has happened over the past at least 10 years is that this established political order has encountered many challenges from the left and especially from the right, right? And from the right, you have people like Donald Trump, you have people like Boris Johnson, you have other people who challenge the truth set out by promoters of global liberal order, meaning that people like Donald Trump would, announce policies that completely against environmental protection, right? Or completely against refugees' rights, for example, just to piss everyone off. But that's the challenge of the global political order that we have had since the 90s. My last point for this slide is this. When figures, I would call this insurgents, right? The insurgents, the challengers of the liberal political order, say something against human rights, against democracy, against all the good things, right? They are seen as spreading fake news, and they do so, right? They take part in spreading fake news. But my point is that there's a conflict underpinning all of this. And these guys, Trump, Boris Johnson, Salvini in Italy, they all supported by a number of masses. And these masses are driven by their so-called fake news, not because they're stupid, but because it ensures them that, at least, some politicians are speaking on their behalf, right? So there's a lot of psychological, emotional foundation in that. I won't go through that, but the point is that you have to put fake news, the notion of fake news that has become quite prominent these days, into a Western context and how that is related to ongoing moral panic at the moment. Now, and what's so interesting is this. What I find is, while we, as advocates of human rights and democracy, kind of see the other side as producing fake news, the other side also accuse like CNN, MSNBC, and other sources of news that we receive every day as sources of fake news. So that's the situation we're facing in Southeast Asia, in another country, where supporters of different political elites are actually accusing the other side of producing fake news. Now, I will use some examples of the Philippines and of Thailand to explore 2 points. Number one is that what lies beneath the notion of fake news is actually actually a conflict between supporters and challengers of existing political order. Call it regime, call it, political system, what have you, right? But there's conflict, and that conflict usually divides society into two camps. So what we see in the US is polarization, what we see in Europe is polarization, what we see in Thailand is the same thing. The Philippines is showing some signs of social divide, right? So I'm just going through, elaborating my point by using the Philippine case. Number one, what is the existing establishment, if you like, in the Philippines? It's not Duterte. Duterte is actually the challenger of the establishment. The establishment is the oligarchs, is the landed elites. These are the people who have control the democratic institutions after the 80s, right? Or even prior to that. But the point is that these political elites, despite democratic transition in 86, they maintain the control of the political system, and they have gained a lot from the economic development of the country, and the Philippines is one of the most unequal country in 4 minutes, sorry. And so what you have is figures like Duterte, who dares to challenge the existing elites. I'm not his supporter, but my point is to show that he has, fared in the election because he presents himself that way. Now, Duterte has employed a lot of people who are media savvy, and there are a lot of studies about his media team, the bloggers who support him and produce fake news for him, social media influencers, and particularly cyber warriors who some of them are hired, but a lot of them work for Duterte because they support him, right? Now, because we don't have time, I just want to show you this. I kind of retrieved this Facebook post from Amnesty International. Published a report on the extrajudicial killing, the war on drugs, right? And the number is, of course, a lot of people were killed, and many Duterte supporters think that AI is actually the producer of fake news, right? And they all accuse AI of being, lackeys of the West, so on and so forth, fake news source, basically. My point is that in the Philippine case, what you have is someone who tried to challenge the established elites, and they do so by spreading disinformation and so on and so forth. And that worked for them. And when their representative, like Duterte, is in power, Duterte continues to do this, and the machine has already started, and now he has the police with him, he has the armed force with him, so, it's complete the process, and now he is in the position of power, so he can also define the opponent as producer of fake news. So just almost the last point, just to reassure the moderator that I will end my talk at some point. This is more obvious, where the elites in the position of power have the authority to say that you're fake and I'm authentic, right? The case of Thailand is so obvious, and all of us live here and we go through this every day. I don't have to explain a lot of things, but what I'm trying to show you is that, I believe that Junction is going to talk about this in detail, but while the regime has banned and blocked and prevented a lot of people from saying stuff, that tactic has evolved into something else. The tactic we're talking about is to define the opponents of the regime as fake news producers. I'm not saying that there's no source of fake news against the regime. There is. But what you have is actually two things. Number one, you have a fake news center that would be, I think, established in any day. And I think this is a very interesting interview where the digital minister kind of say that the purpose of the center is not to kind of, like monitor people, but just to take down contents, online contents that are hurtful to Thais, and we all know what that is about. But most importantly is to cleanse the online space. What does it mean by to cleanse? It means that the authority wants to again centralize the source of truth. Because with the internet, the truth has become so decentralized, right? So what the Thai authorities are doing now is, look guys, I know you have, Facebook and Line, all of that, but I am the only one who has the authority to tell you the truth, right? And so while doing that, the second tactic is to have a secret supporters, sometimes organized, sometimes not, who create a lot of Facebook pages and Twitter accounts that would discredit the opposition. And if you live in Thailand, we all know this. Future Forward has been the latest week too. But this is the pattern that has emerged since 2012. This is not new. I mean, we've seen trolls, we've seen high school students being hired to create content online that would discredit the opposition. And if you look up on the internet, you would find Cyber Scout, you would find garbage collection organizations, so on and so forth. So all of these organizations that produce, contents that would undermine the opposition have been there, but now it is organized, sanctioned and sponsored by the authorities. So I think I would just stop.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, and a lot to meditate about, including whether indeed to do their things against the oligarchs. That is to me an interesting question, because many oligarchs support the group. So, but let's go to Safik Ali, which will show a very different context of the battle of information in Indonesia. Technological challenge in this internet space.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Actually, I feel a little bit cold. Maybe I'm nervous. Thank you for inviting me here to talk, to share about maybe the most talked issues in the world, fake news and hate speech and information war. I want to start my presentation with the quote that maybe in Indonesia especially, we are living under the dark cloud of hatred. But I think it's not only in Indonesia, but also in America, in India, also maybe in Myanmar. Because almost every day we can easily find the aggressive word against us in Twitter, in Facebook, or Instagram, or maybe in WhatsApp or Line. I think this is the hate speech is one of the most important things in the digital age. But there is also something that also important, and maybe this is influence many countries in the world. That is a fake news. Because as you know that in America, I think in 2016 election, Trump won the election because of the fake news. Some come from the American people, but also some from foreign countries. I think the media that cover that many websites come from Macedonia. There's a people, actually the young people that created many websites and they broadcasted they wrote about American politics and they based in Falas, the small city in Macedonia. So maybe this has not happened before, but this is what we are facing today. That everybody in the world can influence political countries, the politics of the countries, even in America. In Indonesia, we have more than 100 million internet users, more than 100. Maybe the most active user is 120 million, and the total of users is 150 million users. Very, very big. In Indonesia, maybe there are many people that actually they have no email, but they have Facebook. Because maybe somebody created for him a Facebook, they created an email, and then this is to create a Facebook, and then they forgot about the email, but they still have access Facebook, and they put. And all Indonesian people, maybe most of Indonesian people have a WhatsApp. This is a different. Facebook is more open than WhatsApp because Facebook is social networks, social media tool, and WhatsApp is maybe social messengers too. We can track Facebook, but we cannot track WhatsApp. And so technology and social media are becoming more important in politics, in economy, or even in religion. So maybe before in Indonesia, I want to explain before we are come to the deeply in the Indonesian politics that after Reformation in 1998, I think Indonesia becoming more diverse, but also becoming more divided. There are many organizations, especially the Islamic organization after Reformation, because we enjoy freedom of expression. So there are many communities set up the new organization, and maybe the most popular one was FBI, Islamic Defender Front, quite a radical group, and also Hizbut Tahrir Indonesia. But actually there are a lot of new organizations in Indonesia after Reformation. And also why some organizations have a religious background, because Indonesia may be one of the most religious countries in the world. Based on Pew Research, Indonesia is number 3 that Indonesian people feel that religion is important. Number 3. This is the data in 2016, but in 2019, Indonesia still on number 3, but Pakistan increased to number 2, and Nigeria dropped to number 4. But more than 95% Indonesian people feel that religion is very, very important to their life. So this is important to understand Indonesian society. Why religious issue very, very sensitive. There's a case in Indonesia 2 years ago. The governor of Jakarta, Ahok, sent to jail because of people accused him insulting Islam. And many people actually, not only Ahok, that sent to jail because of they're accused of becoming a blasphemer of religions. And the most interesting one is many Muslim people, they didn't read mainstream website. This is a picture about overlapping of the reader of the website. Actually, this is an Islamic website. The reader, maybe some of them our website, and you don't already in islami.go, and then report by Islam Consultant Syariah. Actually, the reader of Islamic site, they do not read mainstream media. This is mainstream media. Tempo, Jawa Post, Okazon, Kompas, Tirto, GPNN, Antara. So, the Muslim reader, they do not read mainstream media. So why maybe the people always fighting about the issues? Because maybe Indonesia, maybe the civil society group, they read trusted media outlet like this, but the Islamic radical group or intolerant group, they do not willing to read the mainstream media because they see the mainstream media as do not in position in Islam, and sometimes they feel that mainstream media doing something against Islam. So this is why, and this is also, I think, contributing to the more polarized society. I think in Indonesia there is two things that contributing to the polarization of society. One is politics and the two is religion. In 2017, I with my team, we support Google. We track Twitter and Facebook, and we found out that actually the hate speech mostly come from political buzzer, not from radical Islamic account in Facebook and Twitter. So this is striking. Many people maybe they believe that actually the hate speech, religious hate speech come from radical group, but actually not. That comes from political buzzer, political troll, bot, propagating and spread by bot and troll 100,000 tweets posted by bot and troll and honeypot in Twitter or in Facebook. So I think this is but in offline area, still that radical Islamic group playing the key important role in persecuting people and maybe pushing to close the church and something like that. And this is the picture of social network analysis, that this is the pro-incumbent, pro-Jokowi actually, then this is pro-opposition. And something like this almost happening every week or every month. Right now in Indonesia, there is attention about Papua's issue. The government shut down, block access to internet in Papua. Maybe, since 3 days ago until today. And there is a debate in Twitter about what's happening in Papua. And there are many accounts that actually the new Twitter account set up maybe several weeks ago, and they're getting involved in the debate. Actually, this is not organic Twitter account. This is systematically manufactured account that created to propagating the kind of message. And so web and social media, I think, is becoming new battlefield. I think it's everywhere, not only in Indonesia, also in America. This is the case where the news from untrusted source got engagement and share more than the trusted media outlet. This is in America. And why the people may be fighting each other's back? Because I think we do not share common moral foundation. This is a concept from Jonathan Haidt in his book, Why Good People Divided by Politics and Religions. Because we don't really share common moral foundation. So why the people, maybe the liberal people, they do not understand why Islamic group feel so hungry feel so angry when the Quran, for example, is maybe insulted by some people. But in other side, Islamic group is do not understand why the freedom of speech is so very, very important for the liberal, for example, like that, because they do not share the common, moral foundation. And what we are doing right now is actually what we are doing is very, very difficult, because we still have an idea how to combat the hoax and fake news. But what we are trying to do is flooding internet with peace and positive content. Because actually the mainstream media maybe follow the rule of industry. Media mainstream regularly created the political and entertainment or sports content, but only a few media that regularly created the peace and positive content. In another side, the radical, the Islamic, the undemocratic group, they intensively created hateful content. So we are trying to create many positive and peace content and propagating into social media. And one rule is in social media, speed and reach matters. Because, for example, in Twitter, if you find issues regarding, for example, maybe jihad, you have to directly countering them as soon as possible. Because this is like virus. If you want to fight against virus, you have to be ready with vaccine, antivirus. So, reach matters. There are many hoaxes and hate speech. They reach maybe millions of people. And actually, Indonesia have some group that also regularly created content to debunking hoax. We call it MAFINDO, Masyarakat Anti Fitnah Indonesia, and they set up checkfakta.com, factchecking.com. But there are many articles in factchecking.com, in checkfakta.com, only propagated by a few people. And hoax propagating, shared by many millions of people. So that's a problem. This is a concept. Also about strategy. So what we are doing is creating content, but also organizing people. In Germany, there is a movement they call I Am Here Now. This is consists of the people that actually have a big cancer on hoax, and they are regularly combating hoax with the fact. They post it from the truthful media outlet to fight against hoax. Organization is very important. For example, in Indonesia, I also joined with the Gus Durian Network, and Gus Durian Network have a huge network of social media influencers. Because the radical group, intolerant group, they have cyber army. Maybe 1 year ago, there is a group called Muslim Cyber Army. So we also organizing people, organizing our network in social media. So we can propagating, spreading our message into millions of people. So creating content, it's very important, but it's not enough. We have to have a huge network on social media to make sure that our contents able to reach millions of people. Because I think this is maybe the end of my presentation. Media is the most powerful entity on earth because they control the mind of the masses. And I think right now is not only media but also social media. Right now, not only the companies that have a publishing companies, but we are personally can have also big companies with our social media account. For example, there are many people in Indonesia that have more than 1 million followers in Facebook or in Twitter. In Indonesia, we have more than maybe about 3 million followers in Facebook and Twitter, our organization. I personally have more than 100,000 followers because this is very important because many intolerant and radical group have many followers in their social media account. And yeah, I have some example of video, but it's okay. Later.
Videos?
Yes.
With the video, right?
Sorry, cannot play. It's okay. Maybe we can watch it later.
Okay. That is not
This.
showing
Next time.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, maybe.
Not this one.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next round. Yeah.
Start.
Yeah, this is an example of maybe one of the video that we created because we are regularly created an article. We have created maybe 1,000 articles, but because of the visual content, video getting more important for real generation, so we created a video to promoting peace and tolerance. This video got more than 20 million views in Facebook without advertising.
It is about interfaith.
Yeah, in the middle between Christian and the Muslim helping each other.
Okay, so unfortunately we don't have time, but I am sure we can show later on if there is a request. So we go now to Thailand, which again is a very different context, and we're very glad to have Ailau, which I think is the main on the front line of discussion on freedom of information.
Thank you. I really like when Ajahn Danjila talk about the question of power. It is obviously seen here when people talk about fake news. Whoever say the word fake news against others always are the people who are in power and has actually they have more opportunities to claim what is true or what is not true. I am actually don't have academic background to define what is fake news, what is how many words, what is hoaxes, what are the misinformation, disinformation, and whatever propaganda, whatever. But what we are doing is we monitor cases of people who were charged and put on political trials in our political conflicts, and we have found some interesting facts about those cases. I'll tell you some examples. The first case about Kun Rinda. She was arrested and charged in 2015 for posting a rumor about General Prayut. Her post is about an attempt to transfer some corrupt money by General Prayut and his wife to Singapore. And we don't know is that true or not. We still don't know until today. Let's say it's a rumor that spread many places in the internet, and she was arrested and charged for Computer Crime Act and also sedition. She was put in military court. This picture is a military court, and later, a year later, more than a year later, the military court dismissed and said this is not the case, and then they have to file the case again to civilian court, and later 2 years later civilian court also dismiss the case. When we argue the case in the trials, the only arguments are about is this against the national security or not, but we don't even have a chance to talk about is that true or not, because General Prayut himself did not show up, did not want to testify in the court. But okay, this is one case. Second case is Kun Wattana. Kun Wattana is a famous politician from opposition party. He was charged for posting on Facebook criticizing General Prayut for having too low EQ about many of his interviews, and we don't know that how much EQ he has actually. Is that high or low? We don't know. So this is a fact that we cannot prove which one is true or not. But he criticized a lot with some details, and he was charged for Computer Crime Act. Our Computer Crime Act said that whoever import into computer system some false information, this law punish false information. So it's the kind of law that we should use against fake news, but it was used against, let's say, government criticisms, and actually not the government. Those two people just criticize some politicians, individuals, not the government or not the nation or not the national security. The latest case, quite famous, is Kun Sarini, who was charged for contempt of court for writing an article criticizing the constitutional court. No, sorry, writing an article criticizing the Supreme Court on election department for the rulings during and before the election this year. The contempt of court law also punish only the criticisms that not neutral and not true. So this case again, actually, legally, theoretically, we should argue in the matter of what is true or not true. But we believe that when we use the contempt of court law, we don't have that much chance to prove, because the injured person, the accuser, and the judge are the same persons, and we will not know that is it true or not about what she was writing. Latest news again, there are a group of NGOs who criticize the government that they cut the budget on universal healthcare system, because they found some numbers in some official documents that some budgets were cut, actually 600 million baht around, and that lady is a spokesperson, a new spokesperson of the government, who just show up and said that is fake news, and she does not really try to clarify what is true and what is not true, and where those numbers come from, and actually how many budget should the healthcare system get. This is our situation. This happened maybe last week, and it happened quite normal here, and people. General Prayut himself does not really criticize anyone of fake news, not like Trump himself, that Trump usually say fake news, but his allies usually say something like this, and his allies also try to found fake news center. You have heard about this in all news media report that the news center will call fake news center, which is not true. It actually should be called anti-fake news center, but everyone knows as fake news center, right?
So they produce.
They produce. Okay, but we also have seen many facts or whatever from the government side. I myself star many government Facebook pages, and we have seen we can call it advertisements, propagandas, opinions, whatever. But or someone can call it fake news. But they also keep producing these things for the benefit of their political agenda. One more example on my personal experience. The early of this month, a politician, a very famous politician from the government side, talk about the accused in the bombing incidents in Bangkok. This guy, he was arrested, and that guy is a student activist in the deep south of Thailand, and this politician put two pictures together and accuse that these are the same people and try to link to Future for the Party to involve in the bomb incident somehow. And I was accidentally I was in Pattani at that time, and I met those students, and he sat in the corner of a room. He was very stressful that he was linked to a guy who actually detained in a military camp at that time. And he said to me that he did went to report to the police, and he doesn't know what to do, what else to do. Then I asked him to take picture with me in front of the university sign, and invite some other people to take picture together and post on my Facebook that okay, the accused are actually in the detention center somewhere, but this guy is with me wearing the same shirt. And post on my Facebook, and people do share, and also on my Twitter. People just share it. Maybe most of people share because they hate that political figure too much. But it's okay when people share, and some media took my Facebook post to report. And finally, I just find out yesterday when I tried to look for the original post to produce my PowerPoint presentation, and I just found that she decided to delete the post, and someone told me that she said she didn't post it. That's a fake account or something. Okay, and I think this is best way to counter fake news. Just produce something back if we have concrete evidence that's good enough to prove which one is true or not. Just produce it back and just ignore. We don't have to file a defamation case or committed crime case against people who produce something wrong.
The last speaker had the same kind of strategy to produce counter information rather than spread the fake news, because that is in favor of the one who is spreading. I think this is a lesson for all of us. Let's not spread even if we don't agree, because often we put our comments on top of the fake news of what we don't like. But the alternative they are proposing is more, let's make our own content. Now let's open the floor for the first round of 3 questions or comments. Okay, 1. Any other? 2 in the back. Back 1. Okay, please introduce yourself and then ask.
Hi, I'm Benny from Indonesia. I'm Indonesian. So yeah, interesting to know from Ajahn Gira that digital power is like actually defining what is truth or not. So I have one example in Indonesia. Like yesterday, I guess the official Twitter account of the Indonesian National Army, they retweeted Reuters on their coverage on Papua and just say this is fake news without further explanation, which is show like how power really dominates in this field. So I'm wondering, because Mas Safi Ali mentioned about that Indonesia is a very religious society, how like a religious institution can actually help to combat this kind of fake news or disinformation. And I also saw like in the graph like Philippines was actually very religious, but then again at the same time church is being accused as like a leftist by the government, and somehow it actually kind of works in my opinion. So yeah, how do you view of that fact? Thank you.
Okay, in the back please. Actually, could shout if you could. Okay, use the microphone because we are on video. Okay. Speak right now, please. Okay, so I'm Ben from Thailand. Actually, I'm working in the media as well. So I have two questions for you guys. The first one is that how could you conceptualize the phenomena of fake news in Thailand? That's one thing. The second one is that just recently, General Bowit, who you said, there's a questions about his EQ. He said that he is going to use AI, artificial intelligence, to detect fake news easier, faster. So, I mean, in a sense, what is your perception of that? And then whether Thailand have that much capacity to begin with, or the second one is that, I mean, if it's possible, then how civil society, dissident voices would react to that? Okay, please, there to the front, yes.
I was wondering if anyone knows how many people are on the staff of any fake news centers that have been set up by Southeast Asian countries, and for perspective, if so, how long they've been that agency has been set up.
Many buzzer or many producer of fake news in Southeast Asia. Okay, I don't know who wants. Let's go from here now to there.
In my perception, I have seen a lot of fake news from many sides, but in Thailand, I don't think it has that much influence like to change the political landscape. It still rests with only some groups of people, not like majority of Thai people who really listen to those kind of information. On your second question of General Provit and AI, I have no computer background. I don't know how AI can be that smart, but I know that AI can track some specific words, but maybe it cannot know that which one is true or not. So it is possible and very possible if the current government try to use AI to track some criticism or some specific topic that you know who that we cannot talk about, and they want to track that who is talking about.
Yeah. In Indonesia, I think maybe the religious community or religious organization like Nahdlatul Ulama or Muhammadiyah, these two organizations I think have taken a step to combating hoax or especially fake news. IB and Muhammadiyah have more than 20,000 schools and mosques across the country, and many of their preachers educating the people with, in some extent what we call as a media literacy. But very difficult actually to combating hoax and fake news because we are living in polarized society. Since 2014 election and also Jakarta election, and then in the last election 2019, where we live in the polarized society, we live in what we call as the post-truth era, where the people, maybe the objective fact, are less influential in shaping public opinion than emotion and personal belief. This is make us in the difficult position. And you actually in the last election support the Jokowi. So maybe when the NU leader maybe giving a speech on maybe hoax or hate speech, so maybe the supporter of Prabowo, even they are Muslim, they don't believe what the NU leader said. So also counter, and this is the problem. But the government also have taken step, but maybe, for example, in the Papua case, this is a very, very risky, and because the government blocked the internet access, so we don't know about the truth or not. As you mentioned before, that the official account of the military said that the news about victim of the riot are hoax, but many media outlets reported that that's true. But in a religious organization like NU, actually, for example, NU, we have set up many media outlets. We have created a dozen websites because there are many Islamic radical websites also. Maybe 5 years ago, the top 20 Islamic websites in Indonesia was dominated by the intolerant and radical website. But right now, I think we have already defeated them. Yeah, NU Online is in the top Islamic website based on the reader. Also, I also co-founded Islami.co to reach the urban Muslim, that actually this is different from NU members that mainly living in the rural area. And yeah, we have many social media account. We encouraging our network to be active in social media because maybe 2-3 years ago we have been facing what we call as a silent majority. Actually, the radical group in Indonesia may be only a small portion of the citizens, of the people, but they are very active, very voiceful. So we encourage our network to be more active in social media. And right now we have 1,000 network in social media, in Twitter, in Facebook, but it's not enough. But actually, it's very difficult to combat hoax and hate speech because actually even the truth is not enough to win the battle against fake news. Because this is about emotion, not only about the fact. People don't believe the fact like before. So this is the problem, but I think we have to try. We have to try to expose the fact, but the problem also the government proposing the law, the government set up the law that prohibited possibility of the fact. So, for example, right now in Papua, who we do know about the fact is the government blocking access of internet. So it's getting difficult. It's getting difficult.
I think for those who don't know, in Papua there is 6 people supposedly killed, but accordingly to the government source, only one was killed and was a police or army official. So this is one army to civilians. So the government is blaming the Papuan separatists about that, and of course painting them as the black sheep rather than the victim. So that is the controversy what is going on right now as we speak. Okay, please.
In terms of short, I'll start with easier question in my opinion. I think the gentleman over there, you asked about the seminar center being set up in Southeast Asia, right? From what I know, Vietnam has this. Other countries like Vietnam already has a law on Vietnam has a law on cybersecurity end of last year. So Vietnam has the law on cybersecurity last year, followed by the establishment of what they call information center, like fake news center, I don't know. But it's a follow-up on the enactment of cybersecurity law. And then you have Singapore. Before that, you have Malaysia with an idea to implement that law prior to the victory of the opposition, right? What they see as a trend in Southeast Asia is that I don't know if there is an agreement among the governments in the country, but what I'm quite sure is that each country inspires each other. the main source of that inspiration, I would point to China. I mean, China has a lot of extensive laws that blocks, bans, and punishes, producers of what they call false information, right? And I think that's been for a while. And for now, what we see is that there's a trend that Southeast Asia suddenly, starting from 2017 and last year and this year, each of these countries facing challengers, facing protesters or potential protests against the governments, they started to enact these laws, etc. Now, AI. I mean, Thailand and technology and Thailand 4.0 or 0.4, I don't know. Yeah, it's all the same. 0.4 or whatever. But for me, I think technology we can buy, right? We have the budget for security, but whether or not we have the people with the knowledge and skills to use that effectively, that's another story, right? And what I see is probably, we've been relying on human labor to detect, information against the government and violators of the law. So these are all human labor. I don't think that will change anytime soon. AI, I think, is a bunch of algorithms, right? And it's still human created. And if the Thai government would at some point be so capable of creating that, I think you can, write codes about, what's considered false, fake, and whatnot. So last but not least, in relation to how to respond to fake news. I think I sort of will touch upon the question about the church, the role of the church in the Philippines. I don't think that countering that by truer facts will help. As our colleague here said, that this is a political climate. Everyone is driven, by emotions, by grievances, by frustrations that things have not changed in their life, and they are struggling economically, and also it's probably easier to find someone that you can hate rather than to kind of hate yourself or the situation you're in, right? So I think what can really change the current problem, the current crisis here is, I believe that when you have fake news, what we have as a result of that is division, is polarization, meaning that you consume information that's produced according to what you believe in, right? And what we have accordingly is echo chamber. You get trapped in that little room and you consume all the information that is against the other side. So perhaps the role of institutions like the church or other political institutions is to try to tell people, why don't you reach out to the other camp and hear their stories, hear their truth, hear them out, even though that truth would be very it would be racist, it would be sexist, it would be fear-mongering. But I think it's useful to know why someone is driven by that kind of rhetoric, and by doing that, I think you kind of overcome this echo chamber phenomenon.
Okay, I think there was one question not answered yet, which is if anyone, maybe something, how big are the people producing fake news in Southeast Asia, and how many buzzers there are around? So not the Russian and the Mother of Macedonia, but here based. Do you have any idea about this?
We didn't know exactly the number, but I think not so much. In 2017, we tracked Twitter and Facebook. Actually, there are only maybe 1,000 accounts that regularly producing and propagating hate speech and hoax. But the probability is not the number, because maybe in Indonesia we have only small number of parties of group that created the hoax, but there is a lot of people that willing to do share hoaxes. For example, if we track with social media listening tool, actually we can easily find who's the first account that posted the hoax or fake news or hate speech actually. And the account like that is not so much, only 1,000. But this message shared by 100,000 or even millions. You don't need, even if you want to push a keyword or hashtag to be a trending on Twitter, you don't need millions account. Maybe you need only 4 until 5,000 account in Twitter, and you can push your keyword as a in the trending topic on Twitter. We did it maybe many times in our case. So if you have, for example, 4 or 5,000 network in Twitter, and you push a keyword in the same time, for example, and 7 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. with 4 and 5,000 account in Twitter, and every account posted maybe 10 times or 11 times, you will put.
Accounts come from? Where do these accounts come from?
There are many type of account. Some of account is actually organic account, the real account, but some bot, actually not the real account, but actually operated by machine, not by finger organically, by machine. This is there are many tools that you can set up a post automatically on certain times. So actually it's only a small group that actually created the hoaxes, but people can be easily influenced, can be easily manipulated by them. So millions of people are willing to share on Twitter or on Facebook.
So for promoting the events of Junction, we know we have to come to Safi and we get 4,000 accounts. Okay, now the last round. So 1, 2, and last, only 2, 3. Okay, 1, please.
Thank you. So my name is Fiona. I'm from Hong Kong. My question is related to the comment just now. I think, as we all know, recently with the protests in Hong Kong, the social media giants, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they've taken down a lot of fake accounts from China that has been accused of spreading misinformation, hate speech, all of that. So my question is, do you think these social media giants have a responsibility in taking down fake news or fake accounts that are spreading misinformation? Or if so, maybe in Southeast Asia, when should they then start taking action?
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Vapo, and I'm a lecturer at National University. So, looking and listening to the presentations, it sounds like there's a very big moral component to a lot of this information that's being spread. So I was just wondering, when we look at misinformation, disinformation, fake news, whether it's really a question of authority being able to decide what's authentic versus what's fake, and rather whether it's an attempt to being able to sort of portray oneself as being morally authentic rather than trying to get that authority. So what comes to mind maybe is, again, maybe the example of the Hong Kong protests. What is authentic? What is real? Are the protesters violent, non-violent? And sort of the authentic component to what's being said, and then the moral component to that. whether, yeah, if it's authenticity creating authority or authority defining authenticity.
Thank you. My name is Devi. I'm from Junction. When we talk about the hoax or fake news, but people usually relate it to the politics or hate speech. But actually, in what I'm experienced, almost every day in the WhatsApp group, that many of the hoax is about health, related to information about health, like this certain can cure cancer and everything, or something about how to, and especially there is also a sponsor like sugar is not dangerous or chocolate is not dangerous, and then the opposite side from the other. So I think, I just want to share because actually the hoax or misinformation of this something else or really dangerous because can also affect your health in the individual, and this is spread without any people with good intention to share about health, about good things. So maybe this is also have to be pay attention. Thank you.
So basically false information the day to day. Please, who wants to go first? Okay.
I'll go with the Hong Kong question. It is actually happened here that some Twitter and Facebook accounts disappear, and those accounts are really created to attack some people or some topics. And I personally disagree with this policy. I will agree if Facebook and Twitter has a clear criteria on their policy that like fake account and created just for some political purpose, like no human related, no real people, and only spread some same messages again and again and again. So we can call it that spam or something. But if Facebook delete some account only because they are propagandas from China or Russia, but leave the other accounts that they are propaganda from the US or pro-democracy, I think the platform is not politically friendly enough for some people.
Can I just respond? The same issue here. I'll go to a more difficult question later, but right now I think I kind of agree. I mean, in Thailand, what you see is, the Facebook has often been requested by the authorities to take down some pages or content, right? But it's never the other way around. It's always the authorities requesting Facebook to do certain things. And I think, I don't know what is the criteria for taking something down from Facebook. In the Philippines, where there are a lot of fake accounts and, all kinds of trolls on Facebook, it's never been taken down. It's very little that has been taken down, basically because Facebook has a lot of stakes in the Philippines. So it comes down to the political economy of all of this. It depends on where it hurts the least, then Facebook would do something. And I think in the case of Hong Kong, I think to show the support for the pro-democracy protesters, Facebook has incentive to do so, and it's good for its image globally, right? But there are other cases that are quite tricky.
I think the social media giant has a responsibility on the content circulated in their platform. Because if you look at, for example, maybe 7 years ago, there are many videos from ISIS, Islamic State, posted on YouTube, and it affected too many people. And also in Twitter, there are more than 400,000 accounts that affiliated to ISIS or supported ISIS, and then they need maybe more than 3 years to decide to take down the account of this supporter of ISIS. because actually the social media corporation, I think they prefer to stand in position in, for example, the position that net neutrality. This is about issue. Maybe several years ago, but right now maybe net neutrality is not an issue anymore, because all the media, social media company have taken steps on combating hoaxes and hate speech. YouTube already shut it down, maybe 1,000 or maybe a million account that supported ISIS, and also Twitter in 2016. Maybe Twitter, maybe that before Google and Facebook. Twitter have already taken down more than 400,000 accounts in Twitter. And Facebook right now also. I met with some Facebook official regularly in Jakarta, and actually, yeah, I think that they prefer to be in position that they do not have responsibility on the content, but it's very dangerous, I think, because this is about million content, million messages, million accounts. So, but what the standard? Right now, the social media giant, maybe they have agreed on the community standard about hate speech, maybe about race, religious sentiment, gender, and disability. But there is still also maybe this is not a perfect, and they rely on their artificial intelligence. And actually, there are many real accounts that take down by Facebook because of something that they do not doing. In our network, we have some cases that actually the person that, yeah, we call one of our network to promoting peaceful content, but his account taken down by Facebook. I combine to the Facebook, and Facebook official Indonesia have no answer, because this is about artificial intelligence that, yeah, from America, directly from America. They have no idea what happens actually. So this is about AI, but I understand that it's impossible to do it manually, organically by person, because it's about a million account, millions messages. But artificial intelligence is also, everything is not a perfect to do that.
Can I just quickly respond to the difficult question? If I'm not mistaken, what you're trying to say is when someone claims that he or she has the authenticity to say what is true or false, does it mean that person is moral? Or what is the axiom in this? Can you repeat that again?
I guess what I try to say meant is words like clean, good, corrupt show up a lot of the time when you see a lot of disinformation or fake news show up. And so it seems like there's a strong moral content there.
Right.
But to be able to make that moral claim, there needs to be some sense of authenticity for the person making that claim, I guess. So what I was just wondering whether it's, in that case, the authenticity that helps create the authority to make that decision between true and false, or if it's still you need authority to seem authentic when you make that claim.
That's very interesting because, I think the more you have to, I would translate into my own language, I don't know if I get you correctly, but the more you have to spread fake news from the point of the authority, the less authority you have. It means that you cannot convince people based on your own authority anymore. So you have to borrow a narrative of someone and you just have to say, look, this is the truth, and I'm saying this because, I'm in the position of power and I can say that because, I have the laws. If you say something against it, then I will slap you with that law, right? But what's interesting is that I think more and more when it comes to certain issues that are not as divisive as certain issues, and in Thailand we have to quote and unquote things, like, because some issues are difficult to say, which will land you in jail. But in certain areas, people do not believe in the authority of someone who say that their story is authentic, right? For example, recently I think the Prime Minister admitted that our economy is really in deep trouble. I mean, he has been lying about that for the past 5 years, but right now it's really bad, and we all felt it. And you cannot keep on lying when it comes to this, because I mean, if you keep on lying, then basically people will catch that and it will create a backfire. And I think that, more and more in certain areas like this, and there are certain other issues that it's very difficult to say something false from the part of the authority.
Well, there is still a lot to say, and we have not talked about the challenge of WhatsApp that is very different again from this more open social media, because a lot is going on also at the level of WhatsApp. I think the key point is who has the right to judge what is right and what is not right. The commercial companies, Facebook, Twitter, do we trust them to be the judge, or government, or some kind of civil society arrangement? Initially, there was this hope that the internet would be governed as more a civil society community. Now, what has come of that so many years later, I think, is what makes us now quite worried about what is happening in the website. I also want to note some differences. I think we have the case of China is pretty straightforward in a sense. We have an authority, we judge what is good. It's much more complicated when we are talking about horizontal conflict, or the creation of horizontal conflict for political purpose, like in Myanmar, for instance, or Indonesia. And interestingly, more authoritarian states have less problem with that than not more open democracy, like the case of Indonesia. So here is the challenge for us all, of us. I thank you, all the speakers, for the very interesting and complimentary. I think were 3 different cases, but indeed they were very interesting for us to learn, including that we need to be more savvy with the use of our social media. We may be just one, but we can do it. We need to learn also how to do it. On your way out, please give a donation so that we can continue to have this kind of events. And there is coffee and tea and some Indonesian food as well as Thai food in honor of our country speakers. So please enjoy and continue the conversation. An applause.